All right, so today we're going to be diving deep into the world of government contracts,
Ooh, fun.
specifically what it takes to win one.
All right.
You shared a Department of Homeland Security request for information document,
Mm-hmm.
and it's basically their wish list for modernizing U.S. citizenship and immigration services.
Yes.
We'll call it USCIS for short.
Sounds good.
Think of these documents, RFPs as they're called, as a company's way of saying, hey, here's what we need. Show us what you've got.
Exactly. And this one is really fascinating. You might think government document upgrading tech would be
Yeah,
dry as toast.
totally.
But this one reveals a lot about what USCIS values.
Okay.
They're not just looking for a tech company. They're looking for a partner who understands the human side of things.
Oh, interesting.
Employee well-being,
Okay.
smart leadership,
Uh-huh.
and making their services easy to use.
So they wanted all the tech and the human touch. That's got to be tough to find, right? I mean, you've got Silicon Valley pushing work hard, play hard, and then you've got government agencies known for, well,
Bureaucracy.
yeah, exactly.
That's what makes this RFP so interesting.
Okay.
Think about it, in government employee retention is key.
Makes sense.
You're dealing with sensitive information, national security complex processes.
Right.
You can't afford to have constant turnover.
No.
So USCIS is baking that need for stability right into their requirements.
So it's not just about attracting talent. It's about keeping them happy long term.
Exactly.
What else jumps out at you in terms of how they're approaching this modernization?
The emphasis on DevSecOps is huge.
Okay.
It's essentially a philosophy where you build security into every stage of software development, not tack it on at the end.
Got it.
And in an agency dealing with immigration,
Yeah.
security is paramount.
Now, I know DevSecOps is a hot topic, but can you break it down for folks who might not be tech wizards?
Sure.
What does it actually look like?
Imagine a constant cycle of building, testing, and deploying software, but with security experts woven into every team, not just in a separate department.
Oh, okay.
So instead of waiting till the end to find vulnerabilities, you're catching them early and often.
Gotcha.
The RFP specifically mentions things like CI/CD pipelines.
Okay.
Think of those like automated assembly lines for code,
Okay.
and Docker containers, which help make sure the software runs smoothly on any system.
So it's about speed and security, which are often at odds, right?
Exactly.
You want to be agile, but you also can't be careless with sensitive data.
Exactly. And that's where the idea of a zero trust framework comes in. It's
Okay.
basically the opposite of assuming everyone inside the network is safe, every user, every device is constantly verified.
Oh, wow.
It's like having security checkpoints throughout the system instead of just at the front door.
They're not messing around.
Nope.
But here's the thing that really caught my eye, user experience design.
Yeah.
I mean, it's immigration services, right? Not exactly known for being sleek and user-friendly.
And that's precisely why it's so important.
Okay.
The people interacting with these systems are often going through major life changes. They might be stress confused, even facing language barriers.
Right.
A bad user experience can turn a difficult situation into a nightmare.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
So USCIS is basically saying we need tech that works, but it also needs to be humane.
Exactly. They want intuitive interfaces, clear information architecture, and a consistent design across all their platforms.
Okay.
They even ask about implementing a product design system at scale.
Okay.
Imagine it like a giant library of pre-built design components that can be used across all their digital products.
So everything feels familiar and easy to use no matter what service you're accessing.
Exactly.
That's smart, but they go a step further by asking how contractors measure the return on investment or ROI of good design.
Yes, they're not just paying lip service to the idea, they want to see results.
Oh, interesting.
How does good design translate into reduced errors, faster processing times, and ultimately a better experience for the public? They're demanding accountability, which is fascinating given the stereotype of government wastefulness.
So they're not just throwing money at a problem, they're saying prove to us that design makes a difference.
Exactly.
That's pretty forward thinking.
It is, and it ties directly into another point that emphasizes the decommissioning of legacy systems.
Okay.
It's not flashy, but getting rid of old, clunky software is essential for any digital transformation.
So they're not just slapping a fresh coat of paint on outdated tech, they're going for a full system overhaul.
Yeah.
What kind of experience are they looking for in a contractor for this?
They want to see proven methodologies, a deep understanding of the risks involved, and strategies for mitigating those risks.
Makes sense.
They specifically ask about things like data migration, moving all that information from the old systems to the new ones, and user retraining.
Right, because even if the new system is amazing, getting people used to a new way of doing things can be a challenge.
Absolutely.
And this is where that emphasis on leadership and team dynamics comes back into play.
Exactly.
They want a partner who can not only build the tech, but also guide their team through the change. Speaking of team dynamics, there's one more thing I want to touch on before we move on to part two.
Okay.
Those specific questions about the ideal program manager and technical lead. What can we learn from that about USCIS's culture and what they're looking for?
Those questions are like a hidden code revealing what USCIS values.
Okay.
They're looking for leaders who can navigate the unique challenges of government work, the bureaucracy, the security protocols, the often slow pace of change.
So it's not enough to be a rock star programmer. You need to be a diplomatic rock star programmer who can navigate red tape.
Precisely. And that brings us to a crucial insight. USCIS doesn't just want a tech solution. They want a partner who understands their world, their challenges, and their ultimate goal of serving the public good.
Well, that's quite a lot to unpack. We've covered a lot of ground, but it seems like there's still so much more to explore.
You're right. In the next part of our deep dive, we'll delve into the specific technologies they mentioned, like Docker and microservices, and how those choices reveal their priorities.
Stay tuned, listeners. We'll be right back with part two. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of government contracts and USCIS's vision for the future.
Yeah.
Before the break, we were talking about those ideal program manager and technical lead qualities.
Right.
USCIS is looking for it. Let's pick up that thread. What specifically makes someone an ideal leader in this context?
Well, it's not just about technical chops,
Right.
It's about understanding the nuances of government work.
Yeah.
Think about it. You're dealing with layers of bureaucracy, strict security protocols, and the public's trust is paramount.
Of course.
So the ideal leader needs to be a bridge between the fast-paced world of tech and the more deliberate pace of government.
Someone who can translate Silicon Valley speak into government action.
Exactly.
But beyond just communication skills, what else might this ideal leader embody?
Well, the document hints at someone who can build consensus,
Okay.
navigate complex stakeholder relationships, and champion a culture of both innovation and accountability.
Right.
Remember, government projects often involve multiple agencies, departments, even external partners.
Yeah.
The collaboration is key.
So it's about being a conductor, bringing all these different instruments together to create a harmonious symphony. That's a tall order.
It is, but the document makes it clear that USCIS is looking for a partner who understands these complexities and can lead with both technical expertise and a deep understanding of the human element.
That's a great segue to another point. I wanted to dig into the decommissioning of legacy systems.
Yes.
We touched on it briefly before, but it's worth emphasizing just how crucial this is for any modernization effort.
Absolutely. You can't build a shiny new digital future on a foundation of outdated tech.
Right.
Those legacy systems can be riddled with security vulnerabilities. They're often expensive to maintain,
Yeah.
and they can stifle innovation by being incompatible with modern tools.
It's like trying to run a marathon in lead boots. But what struck me about the RFP is how detailed their questions are about this process.
Right.
They're not just asking, can you do it? They're asking, how will you do it?
Right.
What challenges have you faced, and how will you minimize disruption?
They've clearly learned from experience, probably some painful ones.
Yeah, I bet.
Data migration is a massive undertaking, and it can be incredibly risky if not handled properly.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine accidentally deleting or corrupting vital records during the transfer. That's a nightmare scenario.
Not to mention the potential for security breaches if sensitive data isn't handled securely. So they're looking for a partner who's not just tech-savvy, but also incredibly meticulous and detail-oriented.
Exactly. They need someone who understands the weight of responsibility involved in handling this kind of information and who has a proven track record of success in navigating these complex migrations.
Okay, so we've got strong leadership, a meticulous approach to legacy systems, and let's not forget that overarching focus on user experience.
Right.
But what about the actual technology stack? What can we glean from the specific technologies mentioned in the RFP?
This is where things get really interesting. The fact that they're calling out specific technologies like Docker containers, microservices, and AWS cloud cost savings tells us a lot about their priorities.
Okay, break it down for us. What are those technologies and what do they reveal about USCIS's vision?
Let's start with Docker containers. Imagine them as little self-contained packages that hold all the code and dependencies needed to run a specific piece of software. It's like shipping a fully functional mini computer in a box.
So instead of having to install and configure everything on a specific server, you can just deploy this container anywhere and it works seamlessly.
Exactly. This makes it incredibly efficient to develop, test, and deploy software, especially in a cloud environment.
Okay.
And that's where the mention of AWS comes in, Amazon Web Services, a leading cloud platform.
Got it.
By moving to the cloud, USCIS can benefit from things like scalability, cost savings, and increased security.
Okay. Cloud containers. I'm starting to get the picture.
Good.
But what about those microservices? Is that just another tech buzzword?
It's more than a buzzword, it's a whole architectural approach to building software.
Okay.
Imagine breaking down a big monolithic application into smaller independent services that communicate with each other.
Okay, so instead of having one giant machine trying to do everything, you have a bunch of smaller machines working together. What's the advantage of that?
It's all about flexibility and resilience. If one service goes down, the others can keep running.
Oh, okay.
It also makes it easier to update and scale individual parts of the system without affecting the whole thing.
Okay.
Think of it like a Lego set. You can easily add or remove pieces without having to rebuild the entire structure.
That's a great analogy. So by embracing this microservices architecture, USCIS is essentially future-proofing their systems.
Exactly.
They can adapt to new demands, integrate new features, and scale up or down as needed.
You got it. They're not just looking for a quick fix, they're building a platform for the future. And by specifically calling out these technologies, they're signaling to potential contractors that they're serious about embracing modern development practices and building a truly agile and adaptable system.
That's quite a leap forward for a government agency. But it all makes sense when you consider their goals: increased efficiency, improved security, and a better experience for the public.
Precisely, and it all ties back to that human element we keep coming back to.
Right.
They're not just upgrading technology for technology's sake, they're using it to improve the lives of real people.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive.
We have.
From leadership qualities to legacy systems to the exciting potential of cloud computing and microservices.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's still so much more to uncover in this RFP.
You're right. In part 3, we'll wrap up our exploration by delving into the specific questions they ask about measuring the impact of their digital transformation efforts.
Oh, okay.
How do they define success, and what metrics will they be using to track progress?
Stay tuned, listeners. We'll be right back with the final part of our deep dive. Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into this fascinating USCIS document. We've talked about everything from cloud computing to the importance of employee well-being. But I'm curious about one thing. How does USCIS actually measure the success of this massive modernization effort? I mean, it's one thing to talk about efficiency and user experience, but how do you actually put numbers to those things?
That's a great question, and the RFP doesn't disappoint. It's clear that USCIS is taking a data-driven approach to measuring the impact of their digital transformation.
Okay.
They're not just hoping for the best, they're setting clear goals and identifying key metrics to track progress.
So what kind of metrics are we talking about? I'm picturing spreadsheets full of numbers and charts, but is that really how they're measuring things like user satisfaction and employee morale?
It's not just about crunching numbers, it's about understanding the human impact of these changes. For example, they ask about measuring things like application processing times.
Oh, okay.
How long does it take for someone to complete a request or get a decision?
Right.
Reducing those wait times is a tangible way to improve the user experience.
So it's about making the process less stressful, more efficient for the people who are actually using the system.
Exactly.
That makes sense. But what about those softer aspects like employee well-being? How do they plan to measure something like that?
Well, the document actually mentions things like employee retention rates and satisfaction surveys.
Okay.
They're looking for a partner who not only values their own employees, but also understands how a positive work environment translates into better results for USCIS.
So it's not just about ticking boxes and meeting deadlines. It's about creating a sustainable culture of excellence that's impressive.
It is, and it goes even deeper. They're also interested in measuring the impact of their digital transformation on their overall mission.
Oh, wow.
For example, they ask about things like fraud detection rates and the accuracy of data processing.
So they're not just measuring how quickly they can process applications, they're measuring how well they're achieving their core objectives.
Right, they're looking at the big picture and they're demanding accountability from their partners.
Yeah.
They want to see how these technological changes translate into real-world results.
This deep dive has been a real eye-opener. Who knew a government document could be so insightful and, dare I say, inspiring?
Right.
We've learned so much about USCIS's priorities, their values, and their vision for the future.
It's been a fascinating journey, hasn't it? And I think the biggest takeaway for me is that USCIS is looking for more than just a technology provider.
Yeah.
They're looking for a partner who shares their commitment to excellence innovation and, most importantly, the human element.
And they're not afraid to ask tough questions to find that partner. This document is a testament to their dedication to getting this modernization right.
It's a reminder that even in the world of government contracts, there's room for vision, for values, and for a deep understanding of the human impact of technology.
Well said. I think we've squeezed every last drop of insight out of this document. but I have a feeling this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the fascinating world of government RFPs.
Absolutely. Each one is a window into a different agency, a different mission, a different set of challenges and opportunities.
Right.
And for those who are willing to dive deep, they offer a wealth of knowledge and a chance to be part of something truly meaningful.
So listeners, if you're intrigued by what we uncovered today, I encourage you to keep exploring. There's a whole world of government RFPs out there, each one waiting to be deciphered and analyzed. Who knows what fascinating insights you might discover?
And who knows, you might even find yourself inspired to join the ranks of those who are using technology to make a positive impact on the world.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking those tough questions.